Alrighty. Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, good evening. So today what we're going to do is we are going to review a little bit and talk about quadratics in vertex form. So what we have here today is our quadratic formula, f of x equals a times x minus h squared plus k. And don't forget that f of x is the same exact thing as y. So we could say y equals a x minus h squared plus k. So there's a few points or important pieces that we need to know before we can graph our quadratic. The first part is our vertex. And the vertex is made up of our h and our k. And our little saying that we had was opposite h, keep the k. So if I look here, if this h was a negative number, it's going to become a positive. And if this h was a positive number, it's going to become a negative number. So after that, we have our axis of symmetry. So all that means is whenever I draw my graph, my axis of symmetry is just going to be equal to whatever my h value is. And we have x equals h because h is an x value once we start writing it in our points as our coordinates. And the last thing we need to talk about is this a here in our formula. So when we have a and it's a positive number, our graph is going to end up, it's going to be a smiley face, and it's going to face upward, and the minimum, so the lowest point, it's going to be where the vertex is at. Our minimum is going to be at k. And when a is a negative number, we're going to have a frowny face, and our maximum, or this point right here, is going to be at k. So those are the main parts. So what we want to do first is we're actually going to go over finding a y-intercept. So a real easy way to find our y-intercepts, is thinking about our graph. So if I have a graph here, I could go all along this line right here, and it doesn't matter where there was a point on there. It would be a y-intercept, right? So if I did this could be 0, 1. If I had it down here, this could be 0, 0, negative 1, and so on. So like here it'd be 0, negative 2, and there should be something that you're seeing in common with all of these points, and that is that all of the x values are 0. So what we can do is we're just going to plug in 0 for x. So plug in 0 for your x. So we can try that real quick. So if I have y equals negative 2 x minus 6 squared plus 6. So if I want to find my x-intercept, all I have to do is this x right here, I just have to plug it in for 0. I have to plug in 0 for it. So I can just do negative 2 times 0 minus 6 squared plus 6. Now, because we're solving for y here, we don't have to worry about moving things from one side of the equation to the other. We can just do it all on this right-hand side. So we're going to do the order of operations and go through this. So PEMDAS is parentheses. We do have parentheses here. So 0 minus 6 is just going to be -6, right? So we put in our -6. And then exponents, which we do, we have that squared. So -6 squared is going to give me 36. And now the m and the d, which is multiply and divide, which we have this -2 multiplying the 36. So -2 times 36 is going to give us -72. So -72 plus 6. And the last thing we have to do is add those together. So -72 plus 6 should give me -66. Now this whole time, it's the same thing as having y equal to the whole way down. So we have y is equal to -66. And if we wanted to write that as a coordinate, we would write it as 0, -66. So that's how we're going to find a y-intercept. So real quick, let's go to another page and we will have you solve one on your own. So for practice, let's see, where did my problem go? We're going to do y equals 2 times x minus 2 squared minus 32. So we're going to do that same exact process. We're just going to plug in 0 for our x value, and then we're going to solve it from there. So for practice real quick, just go ahead and pause the video real quick, work it out, and then start the video again and we'll go through it. Okay, so hopefully you've paused the video, worked it out. So what we're going to do is we're going to plug in our 0. So hopefully, once you plugged it in, this is what you started off working with. So we're going to use PEMDAS and do the same exact thing. So we have parentheses, so 0 minus 2 is -2. And then exponents, so -2 squared is going to give me 4. And 2 times 4 is 8. Oops. Didn't mean to write that. 32. So 8 minus 32 is going to be -24. So really this is y equals the whole way down. So we have y equals -24. So as a coordinate, we could write that as 0, -24. And last but not least, let's do one last example. So we're going to do y equals -2 times x plus 4 squared plus 32. So again, take a second, pause the video, and then we will work through this together. Make sure we got it right. So here we go. We're going to start by plugging in 0 for x, and then use PEMDAS. So I'm going to start with my parentheses, and 0 plus 4 is 4, and then 4 squared is going to give me 16, and then -2 times 16 is going to give me -32, And negative 32 plus 32, they cancel out and they give me 0. So I have y equals 0. And that, as a coordinate, would just be 0, comma 0. So that's how we find the y-intercept for our graphs in vertex form. So in the next video, we will go over how to solve for x-intercept.